Since you're one of the first feature-length films, is that right, to do equity crowdfunding?
We're the first feature-length narrative film in the United States to do equity crowdfunding, yes.
Okay. And it sounds like you've done a lot of research, you and your team.
Yes.
So if you were to sit down and advise someone else that wants to do the same, what are some top 5 things that they should be aware of right away? If you're allowed to talk about that. Now I know there's rules, so within the guidelines of what you can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely I can talk about that.
Okay,
that's a great question, because that's a question I would love to have heard the answers to about 6 months ago when I was embarking on this. The first thing you need to know is it's a ton of paperwork. It's like doing your taxes times 100. There's accounting paperwork, legal paperwork. You can hire people to do this, or you can do it yourself. Okay? But there are a few things where you do have to have an actual lawyer at least look it over, because it's an investment. This is a serious thing. You know, people are trusting you with their money, and you're saying, hey, if you invest in our company, we're going to make money, and we're going to give you more money back so you make a profit. That's what you're saying to these people. That's a serious thing, you know? And people in show business, we're creative, okay? We're creative people. We like to tell stories, we like to write, we like to act, we like to direct, or things like that. We're not accountants, okay? If we wanted to be an accountant, we'd be doing that, you know? And we're not lawyers, or we'd be doing that, okay? So you have to embrace the fact, number one, that there's a lot of paperwork, and you're going to be doing a lot of jobs that are not fun and creative like acting, writing, and directing is. Okay? So you have to embrace that and do these chores. You can hire people to do it. You can spend about $10,000 and have other professionals do all that paperwork and all that stuff for you. Or maybe like 5 to 10, depending on exactly how much money you're raising. The more money you want to raise, you can raise up to $1 million under the regulation crowdfunding rules. Okay, you can hire people for $5,000 to $10,000 to do all that stuff for you. Okay, and then the second thing is have a great video. It's really important. Kickstarter campaign and stuff. You have to have a great video that gets people excited. Okay, the third thing, which I found out from I emailed people who had done successful campaigns, people who had a biotech company, an electronics company, a food company, completely different than the movie business. But I emailed them and said, hi, I'm going to do this. Do you have any advice? To my surprise, they wrote back generously, told me a lot of things. And all these people from these, pretty different companies than us, the biotech and things like that. They said that the vast majority of their investors invested for emotional reasons, because they liked the people they saw in the video who were going to be having their money and running the company, because they got a good feeling from them. He said 80 to 90% of investors said that that's why they invested. Then only about 10 or 20% were, analytical spreadsheet kind of people who drilled down into all the numbers and everything and invested for those reasons and asked questions about, your ROI and your this and your that. That was a smaller percentage of people, but substantial. They still put in a good amount of money. And so all these companies that were formal and strict and not like fun and show business said it's emotional. So I thought, wow, because and it made sense to me. And I thought, well, I'm in show business. If I can't make a plea that shows people how we feel about doing this, then. So that was the other big thing. You said 5, that's 3 things. So you want 5 things. Oh, so much pressure, so much pressure. The other thing is it's going to take over your life. It's 12, 14, 16-hour days. Online, doing social media, spreading the word. It's nonstop. You have to have at least 2 people on your team full-time. We hired a Facebook ad team, people who are doing the Facebook ads and putting those out, because we didn't have time to do that. We hired consultants who has consulted on other campaigns like ours to tell us what to do so we could learn all this stuff. So you need a team of people. That's the other thing. That's 4 things.
That's 4
I
things.
got to come up with a 5th
if you
thing.
can't come up with the 5, I actually have 2 follow-ups. So then we can actually almost make it 7.
Okay.
But so the follow-up is, you said there's a team of people that maybe you could pay around $5,000 to $10,000 to do some of this paperwork and all that. What's the name of that job description? Like what type of, if we're searching for those companies, what are we looking for? What's the name of it?
Oh, well, there's 3 things. You can search online for regulation crowdfunding consultants, and you can find firms who do that. There are some who you can come to them and say, I have this product, or a movie, say, I want to raise the money. And they say, fine, you pay us X amount of dollars, we'll do all the paperwork, so all you have to do is provide us with some information, sign your name, we'll do all the ads, we'll do everything, you know, and they cost more money. Okay. And they frequently will take a portion of your company, you know, 5%, 6% of your company as part of their fee, in addition to you paying them up front.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So they become business partners with you in some
Yes.
sense, they're investors. Okay.
Yeah, but you're paying them.
Right,
You're paying them
right.
in money, and you're paying them in stock for your company. You can find those companies around, and you can see what companies they've successfully raised money for. Okay, that's a more turnkey system. Or you can just hire an accountant, you do CPA, and an attorney who's specializes in this field. And again, if you search regulation crowdfunding, attorney, you will find people who specialize in this. And I found attorneys are pretty good. If you're a kind of attorney and they don't really know how to do this, they'll turn you on to somebody who does. So you can cut the money in half that you're spending up front by just hiring them for very specific tasks. Now, what are those tasks that you need to do? What is all this paperwork? The great resource for that is the portal. They call these portals. These are SEC registered websites. There's only 26 of them as of this moment, as of May 2017. And they have to be registered with the SEC. And you have to run your campaign through them, through one of them. They're like Kickstarter, but instead of Kickstarter rewards-based, it's investment-based. Okay, you go to these portals, and there are the 3 top ones right now are Start Engine, which is what we're on, WeFunder, and MicroVentures. Those are the top 3 right now. They have the track record. You go to those sites, and they have a lot of great information. You know, a fact that tells you what you need to know if you want to raise money this way. Okay, so you can find that out. It's a lot of research. You know, it's a lot. It's like 3 months just to get to the point where you can launch the campaign.
Interesting.
3 months of solid work.
And then with hiring the attorney, it sounds like, are you just hiring them for looking over the launching of the campaign, making sure the wording, everything is correct? And again, if I'm overstepping my bounds with the question.
Fine.
Okay, so it's just sort of like you let them know what needs to be done, and then they sort of give you their hourly rate, and then you're done once the campaign is launched? Or are they on retainer and you're following up with them throughout the campaign?
It depends on what you need them for. There are several firms that will do it for a flat rate. I say, if you pay us $5,000, we will do all the paperwork, all the legal paperwork to get you launched, and then a couple of follow-ups. For example, when we had our press release that we issued to the press to talk about the movie, I ran that by the attorney to make sure that we didn't violate any of the, what they call communication guidelines from the SEC, to make sure that we didn't say anything. For example, you can't say, if you invest in our company, you'll make $1 billion. That's because that's a promise that the SEC says, gee, you're not likely to have that come true, are you? And so you can't, well, first of all, you can't lie to the public, that's just wrong anyway, but you can't overpromise in your excitement. You can't say, this is gonna be the best movie ever, you know, and so you can't really say that according to the SEC. You know, you can say, hey, this is our team. We have an Oscar, we have 4 Emmys, we know what we're doing, and we're making this movie. That you can say because it's true, it's a fact. So I ran all that stuff by the lawyer, and to make sure that we weren't being overenthusiastic. We weren't, we were fine. So that's how you'd use a lawyer after you've launched. But all the other lawyer work is getting ready for the launch and the months before the launch, because you have to fill out a lot of things. And by the way, when you launch this campaign, the SEC does a background check on you. I've never had a background check done before. I felt so naughty. Sadly, I'm not that interesting, so I passed the background check. Oh. But but everybody who does a campaign on these portals who are doing equity crowdfunding, they've gone through background checks to make sure that nothing shady.
Right, no securities fraud or anything like that, right? So then with the Facebook ads, anything you can recommend? Because we've heard that for some people they work very well. And I'm wondering if there's certain strategies with Facebook ads that you could recommend, if that's within the guidelines.
Yeah, the Facebook ads have done well for us, but it's been a real learning curve. I did not know about this whole world of data that Facebook has. I mean, I heard about it, read about it, I use Facebook, but until I started purchasing ads, when you buy an ad on Facebook, you can say what audience it is. You can say age, you can say male, female, you can say they're interested in this, they're interested in that, and Facebook will tell you exactly how many thousands or millions of people fit the criteria, and you can really fine-tune the audience. You can have your ads run within 100 miles of Charlotte, North Carolina, only if you want. You can do amazing fine-tuning of things. And so it took a while for us to fine-tune the people who would want to invest in a Christmas movie. And once you reach them, they're like, oh, that's great. But if you're somebody who only likes horror movies, they're not interested. So Facebook ads can be very effective, and there are a million consultants who would be happy to work with you to help fine-tune these ads, and they'll run like 20 different ads that are like subtly different or really different, and then they measure exactly how well it does, so that they can just narrow it down and find out. I think of it as when you go a sitcom, when you're shooting a live sitcom with a live audience, you do the scene and you see how the audience reacts, and if they didn't laugh enough in certain places, the writers quickly write new jokes, or they have other jokes ready, and they give them to the actors. They do the scene again and change 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of the jokes in the scene and see if the audience laughs better. So it's a similar process to doing Facebook ads. You fine tune it till it resonates with the audience, just like making that live audience laugh.
Right. Now, did you work with a consultant, or you've done all this on your own with your team in terms of purchasing the ads and looking at the metrics and things like that?
I did it all myself for the first couple of weeks because I thought it was interesting. And then I realized that I learned enough to know what I don't know. So I handed it off to people who do know, who live and breathe this sort of thing, so they can get results more quickly. It's like, I mean, hey, you could run the camera and the sound and direct and write the whole movie, but why don't you hand off that camera and that sound to somebody who does that for a living? So.
Okay, so you knew what your strengths were, and you knew when, because they say successful people always ask for help. So it sounds like that's good. You don't have to do everything yourself.
Yeah, but I'm glad I did do it for a couple of weeks, because now I understand what the heck they're talking about.
That's good.
When they talk about, you have to learn things like click-through rates, cost per click. Every time somebody clicks on your ad in Facebook, you pay Facebook. So I just learned all this amazing stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, it's good that you know what you're, getting into, but in terms of having someone else fine-tune it, it sounds like you wanted them to do it. Nice.
Yeah.
Now, with this campaign, is this an all or nothing campaign?
No, we've reached our minimum. So once you reach the minimum, you're good to go. We've reached actually 700% of our minimum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
In 7 weeks. So it's...
Wow. Well, we'll have a link below this video and on the site so people can go to it and they can see more of what you're talking about, so we don't overstep anything. So